How you doing, good people? This is the 8-Bit Animal. And it's time for a field trip. So let's hop in the Wayback Machine. We're going to 1986. In 1986, Taito sends us on a journey to the Cave of Monsters with their arcade title, Bubble Bobble. See, back in the 80s, Taito was right up there with Konami. Actually, they were higher tier than Konami was at that point. They were up there with Namco. And back in the day, Namco was it. Namco was top tier. Namco and Sega were the kings of the arcade, in my opinion. But Bubble Bobble was a single screen platformer where you basically clear the screen of enemies, move to the next level. And you did that for about, I want to say somewhere between 50 and 100 levels. I can't remember the exact number. But Bubble Bobble was immensely popular. And it got ported to a bunch of stuff, including the NES in 1988. That NES port was incredibly popular, to the point where, towards the end of the NES life cycle, when didn't nobody really care about what you were doing, Taito lobbed out a sequel in 1993. That sequel is what we're going to talk about today. To all the wonderful folks watching this video, today we're taking a look at Bubble Bobble Part 2. Now, it's 1993, babies. Let's go back to the Cave of Monsters. The Skull Brothers have kidnapped Judy and turned Bub and Bob, or Chubby and Rubby, I guess the name is, on the back of the box for the NES game, and they're the main character names on the Famicom cart. Those are Bub and Bob's descendants. We gonna go with Bub and Bob because that's the names we know. That's the names I know. Cause I know Bubble Bobble. And I don't know no Chubby and nothing else. It's Bub and Bob. Anyway, Bub and Bob have to traverse 80 levels. Same mechanics as the previous game to an extent. You get rid of all the enemies on the screen by blowing bubbles at them. They get captured in the bubbles, start floating around. You pop the bubbles, you get rid of the enemies. They turn into food items. Consume the food items, get rid of everybody, eat all the food items, levels cleared, move to the next level. Right? Simple enough, in theory. In practice, though, it can get pretty challenging. Because, I mean, in this game, you got 80 stages. 80. 8-0. And for my money, Bubble Bobble gives you enough of a challenge to where you ain't got no choice but to, you gon' get good or get gone. The platforming is solid. This game is a lot more colorful than the original game because the original game was all black backgrounds. This one has bright, colorful backgrounds. Sprites are bigger, stuff like that. To me, the platforming feels a little quicker than it did in the original game. I may be wrong, though. As far as some of the jumping mechanics, they added something to this game. They added one little gameplay wrinkle. If you hold down the B button on your NES pad, your character will kind of inflate himself and will begin to float around. This helps in some of the platforming, but in later levels, there are spikes around, and you hit a spike, you die, unless you got hit points. Also, there are hit points in Bubble Bobble Part 2. Something we didn't get in the first game. It was one-hit kills in the first game. This is a game changer because it gives you the ability to do a whole lot of fighting back if you get hit. First game you get hit, that's it. This one you can fight back, and you're not losing a bunch of lives in the process. But for my money, Bubble Bobble Part 2 is a great sequel. It's a great sequel. It plays off of the strengths of the original game while building on them, and yeah, it's a solid game. I'm not gonna say it'll be a great addition to your collection, because if you decide you want to get a copy of Bubble Bobble Part 2, loose carts start at $400. Yeah, go get a repro. Get a repro. Get this on Nintendo, on Switch Online. Just get the original game. I don't know what to tell you on this one. But loose cart for the original game, $400. Once upon a time, $400 was rent. If you got a Section 8 voucher, $400 is rent. This is nuts. And this ain't the worst of it. We're going to talk about a couple more Taito games before the year's out. The prices, the house note prices, bruh, it's ridiculous. But this is what has happened. But Bubble Bobble 2, a fantastic game. Is it worth that much? I don't think so. But this has been the 8-Bit Animal, and I'll catch you beautiful people tomorrow. Tomorrow. You know, if Codemasters could have got a Honey Nut Cheerios tie in here, they would have won.